Alright guys, I'm out in western Wisconsin, out in hill country, doing a little scouting and getting some cameras hung up on a piece of public land. It's a really good property here, a lot of big bucks on it, but I just want to go over a few little things that I do with my trail cameras. I think it would help a lot of people not get their camera stolen and get bigger deer on camera. I mean, this applies to guys on private and public, but I'll spin this camera around here and then I'll just show you like the location that I'm in first. Alright, so there's a huge north-south running ridge up there. I'm about a quarter of the way down it right now. There's a great big saddle in the ridge right there. And then it almost makes a 90, the top of the ridge over there almost makes a 90, and it goes east-west. And there's another branch down there that does almost the same thing. It's kind of on an angle, but so it's a big bowl in here, and there's 6 drainages that all connect, kind of connects into 2, and then it connects into one giant one down there. I'm kind of at the spot where this 90 is here, and I'm at like the head of the first drainage, and there's some giant sets of tracks on here. But the reason I picked this spot and I had it marked on the map is because I was pulling cameras out here last year. I never hunted this or anything, but it was November 18th, and I'd just come through that saddle on top of the ridge, and I looked down here, and this hardwoods is pretty open, but this stays really thick and nasty in here, and I could see a whole bunch of does in here. And one of the does started blowing at me, and then I looked back and there was a giant rack just screaming through this thick stuff, and it was chasing those does. And I got like behind a big rock up there, and I never got a really good look at that buck, but it was a really good one. I know there's several good ones in here. But anyway, so I'm on this ditch crossing here, and the first thing I do with my cameras is I hang them high. Just bring a little stick with you or whatever. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I promise you that's going to save you a lot of cameras right off the bat. Like, a lot of people will not see that camera. It's just out of line of sight. And not having a strap on that camera, like when I was in sniper school, like one of the things that they taught us like during stalking and stuff is your eye just naturally picks up straight lines, straight horizontal lines too, especially when you're in like a woods like this. So a strap, when you see someone else's trail camera, think about it and be like, what was the first thing I saw? I guarantee it's almost always the strap on the tree. So not having a strap helps a lot. And if you think it doesn't spook deer, it might not. But when a deer picks off your camera like that, and I have just tons of evidence to back this up. I even had a guy hang a camera, like my camera was there, he hung his camera like on a tree right here. And I was getting tons of big buck pictures and videos. And those deer hated his camera being right in their line of sight like that. And I had some awesome videos of those deer coming down the trail and then skirting around his camera. And I had several, it had like a bright flash on it. The deer would walk up to it, wait for the flash to go, and then continue on down the trail. All right, so another thing is I got these stickers. I'll show you. That says, it has a GPS tracking device in it, and this has saved me tons of cameras. I've walked up to cameras and I could see that like the camera was moved or whatever, and I've had a lot where nothing's been messed with, but I've also had a lot where they've just taken the SD card out of it then, which is almost even worse. And one thing I noticed is I've never got any cell cameras messed with ever. Like, people see a cell camera, they think that they got their picture taken and no one messes with it. So I'm like, why don't I just make all my cameras look like cell cameras? So I just took zip ties, those big fat zip ties, and put a little screw in the back, if you can see that, and just screwed them right to my camera. They look a lot like a cell camera, and it's just a zip tie. So this is my first year doing that, but I have a feeling that's really going to help a lot. And then another thing that I do, not related to getting cameras stolen, is, but I'll take a little down feather. You can see that there. That's from a pheasant, I think. I'll take a real little down feather and put it on a piece of really light mono line, and hanging up out of like the line of sight of a deer, because I promise you does will freak out at that feather float around. I've had it happen. But this is a spot, this camera's going to be on video. And this is a spot where I expect there to be some really strange winds. A lot of swirling winds or whatever. I don't really know what to expect here with this big L in this ridge and all these drainages connecting here. So that little feather is going to teach me a lot about how these bucks are using this area with the thermals and everything. So that's a really good tip. Because this camera, a lot of cameras I just use for inventory, but this is a camera that's going to be here all year, and it's going to tell me a lot at the end of the year about how these bucks are using these bedding areas and how they're cruising this during the rut. So I think that's pretty much all I got.